Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Critical Eye. Today, we want to talk about the relationship between mental health and youth participation in leadership. Therefore, I'd like to introduce to you Miss Emma Karanja, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of Siki Youth Society Kenya, a movement that seeks to create awareness on matters of mental health among the youth. Welcome.
Well, hello and welcome to the Leadership TKO, Leadership TKO Night Show via podcast. Welcome to each and every one of you. I appreciate you listening in. This is the podcast that's connected and under the Leadership TKO brand, housed under the iLead company, which is a limited liability company. iLead stands for the International Leadership Education and Development Company. And this is a company based in Chesapeake, Virginia, where the central focus is to partner with associations, with universities and small businesses to build winning leaders. And I'm very excited to be here. My passion is leadership. And of course, there's several subcomponents under that, but I love leadership. And I definitely want to encourage you to visit the website to learn more about the brand and what it is that we have to offer those of you who are listening who want to become better leaders in your homes, in the corporate world, as well as in business. The website address is www.leadershiptko.com. But again, thank you. I know there's so many of you listening in. As a matter of fact, we realized as of today that the Republic of Korea, we have listeners from the Republic of Korea, and we want to thank you so much for those of you who are residents there. We appreciate you listening in. Share this podcast and the episodes on this podcast with your sisters, with your business colleagues, with your fellow colleagues in your organizations, whether it's nonprofits, college, whatever it may be. Get them plugged into this particular podcast. This is a podcast where we're building leaders. We're helping you to become stronger leaders. We provide you with leadership tips. There may be occasions where we're going to be hosting leadership training via podcast, and you do not want to miss that. That's going to be very, very exciting. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. And so you might have seen, of course, the title for this episode. We're going to adjust what you might see as far as the styling of it. But we're talking about something very important. It's actually Leadership TKO for Women, which is the subdivision for this podcast, the subdivision for the brand, really. We have several subdivisions. We have Leadership TKO for authors, Leadership TKO for speakers, and of course, Leadership TKO for women, where we're focusing in on women, specifically those women who are career oriented. They really want to enhance themselves professionally. And so we've embarked upon a campaign that launched at the end of February, early March, and we're propelling it forward. So I'm going to touch bases with the members in our group. We formed a group, a part of this campaign. It's the Born to Lead campaign. We've actually put together a group on Facebook, and I want to share with them on Facebook and let them know that I am indeed live right now. So that's what I'm going to do at this moment. I'm going to share that I am live and encourage them to join in. Listen in. That's what I'm typing. Listen in as I am live. All right. So we shared inside of our group that I am live, and so hopefully some of the ladies will come in and listen in. If you hear anything during this podcast episode that really resonates with you, you thought it was really important, great information shared, I want to encourage you to like this podcast episode. Like this podcast episode. Just let us know that you found it to be helpful information. Share this podcast once again with people that you know that may be suffering, women that you know that may be suffering and need to be educated about depression. And so that's what our central focus is really going to be about during this episode, as we're focusing this entire month of May on mental health awareness. Mental health awareness. This week, we're focusing on depression. Next week, of course, we have a great title where we're focusing in on stress. That's what we're going to focus in on, stress and how it impacts our mental health. So definitely tune in next week. We have some great information to share with you about that topic. But depression is big amongst women because there are various reasons why women fall into or actually encounter depression. A lot of it can be, some people say it's genetic. Some people say there are various reasons. It's situational on occasion, where if you've been in the military and you've retired, and because of your experiences there, you might experience PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? Or you may have had a child and experienced postpartum depression. And so these are some things that are real when it comes to women, but they don't know that there's so many resources out there that exist that can support them so that they can break through the season in their lives. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of the physiological impact. So the signs that we see, the impact that it can have on our bodies as it pertains to depression. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. But I want to encourage you to plug in. If you have not plugged in yet to this podcast, go ahead and get connected to the podcast. It's really simple to do so. What you need to do is visit a website, and it's www.born2lead2017.com. The spelling of it is www.borntolead2017.com. That is the website address. So go ahead and get yourself plugged in to this podcast, and it's going to direct you into the campaign, that is, and it's going to direct you to the campaign group on Facebook. And there's so many things you're going to be educated on once you enter the group. You'll know what we have going on, the events we have coming up, how to get plugged into so many of the other opportunities to grow as a leader and actually grow your business if you're an entrepreneur. So there are various things you'll be able to do. So again, the website is born2lead2017.com. But if you want to learn about all of the elements of the campaign, what it entails, I'm going to encourage you to visit www.leadershiptko4authors.com. leadershiptko4authors.com. That's where you're going to find out about all of the elements involved in this campaign. So let me redirect your attention right now to, as we're talking about some of the physiological concerns that might arise when it comes to depression. We're going to talk about that right now. I think that that's very, very, very important to review. So let's talk about that right at this particular moment. Okay. So as we were talking about last night, depression can cause headaches, chronic body aches, and pain that may not respond to medication. So, when a person is depressed, and feeling overwhelming sadness, normally they feel that in the eye area, overwhelming sadness, you'll see it there. That feeling of hopelessness and emptiness is definitely, of course, in the head area. It's right there. That's where most of it is felt. There are going to be some cognitive changes as far as how you're thinking. Your ability to think clearly is impacted by depression. You also find that there is in the back of the head, as far as the brain there in the back, there's a preoccupation with death. And it's a signal, some type of area in the back of the head where predominantly that's where that comes from. In the back, I want to say the back right side of your brain. There's an area that encourages a preoccupation with death, in addition to the thoughts that might try to enter your mind. We all know that thoughts really impact, the action steps that you engage in. We also know that when it comes to depression, sometimes you begin to feel a lot of aches and pains. You'll notice a lot of tension in the neck. So that's normally where you find a lot of that. As a result of being depressed for some time, you can develop a weakened immune system. That does impact your body. When you're depressed, a lot of things begin to break down. You begin also to face weight problems. So either you're overeating or undereating. You're not eating enough. So you begin to face issues when it comes to your weight. You have poor appetite, of course, as a result. You're not eating. So these are some things to look out for. Overwhelming stress, overwhelming sadness. This lasting sadness or guilt that won't quit may be a sign of clinical depression. That emptiness or hopelessness. Once again, it may not be easy to talk about the emptiness or feelings of hopelessness. So that's what we're talking about. It's like it's there, but it's really hard for you to explain. For those that have experienced depression, that. Cognitive changes begin to take place. You have trouble remembering things or making decisions can make life difficult, if you have depression. Again, with that preoccupation of death, it causes you to begin think about doing things you wouldn't ordinarily do, like hurting yourself or, increasing the risk of suicide, which we do not want to happen, for our sisters. Now, if for children, I do want to put this out there, for children who are depressed, they may be very, very clingy and they may refuse to go to school. So these are just some signs for kids. I want to put that out there because sometimes when a parent is depressed, it does impact their children. So you'll be able to see that. Now with the aches and pains, this may plague a person who is depressed, right? So pain doesn't improve with the medication. And that's what the result looks like. Most people who are depressed, it definitely, they really gather up and kind of hoard food, and they use food as a way to cope, which leads to obesity related issues and stomach aches, right? You begin to eat things that that's not healthy for you, the wrong foods, which causes nutritional deficiencies, okay? You have constricted blood vessels, right? Which also can lead to cardiovascular disease or other heart problems. And as I mentioned before, people who are depressed are more likely to be impacted or may experience death as a result of a heart attack. So this is critical, ladies. Critical, because all of these things can impact a person who is depressed. And, when the body physically is impacted because of depression, guess what? It struggles to fight off diseases. So when it faces those diseases and the diseases are fighting the body and attacking the body, systems are going to begin to break down, which leads to a person becoming ill and having to be bedridden. And it doesn't really make them better. So you want to think about this. This is really, really important for our sisters to take note of. And even if you're listening to the replay, please take note of this content and information and share it with people that you notice that some things are going on with them, isolating themselves. They're having crying spells, right? They're very irritable. And they've actually expressed not wanting to live. These are signs that a person is depressed. And if you see that amongst your sisters, your aunts, your grandparents, whomever, please encourage, talk with them, pray with them, right? Do something that's going to, help them to change their mood, or at least that thought pattern that they're having. But do it in a gentle way, because you don't want them to be encouraged to push you away. Okay? So these are just some things I want you to think about as you're moving forward. I'm not going to keep you much longer tonight. But if you know someone that's struggling, please bring this to their awareness that you're concerned about them. You're not going to force it upon them, but that here is some help for them. You're going to pray for them. You're going to love on them, right? These are some things you want to do and let them know. But again, thank you so much, you who is listening live. Those of you who are, going to be listening to the replay, I appreciate you. Remember to go to the website once again to learn about this campaign, borntolead2017.com, or the entire campaign, which is leadershiptkoforwomen.com. And we'll get you plugged into what we have going on. We're actually launching our reality.
Thank you very much, Miss Emma Karanja, for that powerful presentation. And thank you, Kenyan youth, for listening. Now, as we finish, I hope you've learned something new from Miss Emma Karanja. And this is my message to you. You are not weak. You are just vulnerable. And therefore, it's upon you to stop acting the victim of circumstances and start taking responsibility for yourself and your own country. This is because you are not just a Kenyan youth, but you are the future of this country.